Welcome to this Grandma's Life podcast. I'm your host, theciaellis. Get ready to laugh, learn, and grow with me as we explore growing old in an ever-changing world. One of the good things about growing old is people judge you less when you say sometimes outrageous things. I'm getting older and I've had a fascinating life. I also have opinions. You may not agree with my opinions and I may not care. Even now, I'm passionate about many things. I love to learn. I love quotes and I care about my country. Join me as we explore loving life, even as we age. Today is March 14. No, it's March 13, 2026. And this is episode 92, Circle of Concern. In this episode, I discuss where our focus may be in this ever-changing world. But first, let's see what's been going on. My sister, a few years ago, wrote a cookbook. She was a really excellent cake decorator and baker. I'm not much of a baker. I like to cook, but I don't bake much. But she has a cookbook and she asked me to start doing some of her recipes. Now, there are going to be some baking recipes and there's going to be some of the recipes are what some of the stuff that she and I grew up with that mom used to cook. So that's going to be kind of cool. And I'm going to be adding those to my videos on Grandma's Homestead here pretty soon, probably sprinkling them in with the series I'm doing for Laura Ingalls Wilder cookbook. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It showed up. My original copy is at the farm, so she sent me another copy. And yes, February 13 was the 1 year anniversary of me not being on my farm anymore. And I have no idea if this debacle is going to end anytime soon. I know it will end. I just don't know when. But yes, 1 year, over a year now, because this is March. So yeah, I don't know. All right. Now where I live is Foyle, Oklahoma, and that's kind of an interesting, it's a little bitty podunk town. I'm not going to lie, little bitty podunk town, but there it was back in 1929, I believe, a local man named Andy Payne participated in what they called, what was it called? It was a race to run from California to New York. And this young man, Andy Payne, basically him and another young man were racing together. The other one was from Britain, and they raced across the country. Which kind of is what kind of ironic about that too is Chelsea, just a few miles from here, was the halfway point between where they were running in, I think it was San Bernardino, California, to Madison Square Garden in New York City. So just like, I don't know, 15 miles at that, maybe less, from here where I'm sitting was a halfway point for them. And Andy Payne and that other young man basically led the whole way, but the other young man had a bad tooth and he wasn't able to eat properly, and he dropped out somewhere in Missouri. And Andy Payne got to New York City, I think about 24 hours in front of and ahead of everyone else that was in the race, and ended up winning $25,000 and paid off his mom and dad's farm and bought his own place. And so this year, I think we're celebrating 100 years, 150 years. I can't remember what it is. We're celebrating Route 66 because we are right on Route 66. And there's going to be an Andy Payne race on April 11th. There's a 5K race that I believe is going to be in town. And we're going to, that'll be there. But then there's a half marathon that's actually going to start here in Foyle, and they're going to close down parts of Route 66 to allow for this half marathon. So that's pretty cool. I don't want to do a half marathon. I'm kind of training for the 5K. A few years ago, I actually jogged a 5K. I won't say I ran it, but even then I did jog it, and I finished it and felt pretty good afterward doing it. But I'm older now, and I've got hips and knees and lower back issues. So I don't know. I know I can walk the 5K. I just don't know how much of it I can jog. But I'm thinking about training and doing. I'm still training. I'm actually considering applying to be a part of that 5K, and that's kind of cool. I have been getting to spend time with my grandchildren. Kinsey, the girl that we raised, is has an older brother, and he's coming around again. He has stayed to himself for several years, and now he's coming around. I'm so happy. And then Kinsey's fiance, Lakota, he's of course obviously follows Kinsey wherever she goes, and that's pretty cool too. But uh, so they've been coming around. We had Joseph had a birthday. He turned 24 earlier this month. Oh my gosh, I'm not that old, I promise. But yep, he turned 24. And so we've been spending time together, and it was really cool. My mom called the day after her birthday. Her birthday was February 18th, and she called me. I can't call her because she can't figure out how to answer her phone, and she couldn't hear it anyway. So I just wait till she figured on the rare days that she knows how to make a call, and she can call me then, and I get to talk to her then. So that's pretty cool. We had a period of pretty bad wildfires, not like what they had out there in the Panhandle up and in Kansas and stuff too. But they had one section just north of Chelsea where they were actually evacuating people out of there because there was a pretty big wildfire. And of course, I have friends who are a part of the fire. Well, the fire department is literally right across the street from us here in town, and I know some of the people who work there and that volunteer for there, and they had a rough few days, and but they survived it, and I don't believe anybody was killed from the wildfires, and or it wasn't too bad as far as damage, but yeah, they were busy for a while. My friend Diana, the one I used to go traveling all over the place with, she's been busy late with her daughter and her daughter's 5 children, and but her daughter and Diana and I went to Moore's Fish Farm out here, just not too far from here either. It's literally a fish farm, but 2 days of the month they open, like on a Friday and a Saturday evening, and they have fried fish, and they had pulled pork and all the fixings, like the cornbread and the macaroni cheese and salad and coleslaw and baked beans and all that stuff. And it was served kind of buffet style. And but I tell you what, because they're only open 2 days a week, there's a line that goes out the door, and the place is busy, busy, busy. And they just put you at regular tables, like ones like I don't know, I was gonna say like school tables, but I don't know. But they were like the 6 foot long tables or whatever. And you don't never know who you're going to sit next to. But the food was good. It was worth the wait, because we didn't get there early enough to beat the crowd. And so we had to wait a while. But it was nice. It was loud and busy, but very good food. And I got to spend time with my friend, and that was pretty cool. I've got court dates on the thing. I've already been to 2 this last month, and I can't go into detail about we go back. I'm going to go back again. September, March 23rd. I have no idea how it's going to go. Every date has a weird surprise to it. My lawyer has basically told me more than once that he has never had a case like this one. The judge has never had a case like this one. And he's conferring with other lawyers on how the best to handle this case. And the judge is having to spend time researching how the best way to handle this case. It's been a mess. It's been absolutely, one day I can tell you about it, but I can't. It's just been a mess. Kinsey called me a couple weeks ago, and she goes, "Grandma, I need you to do me a favor." She was coming back from Kansas where they were going to school, and I think she was going through the Ulaga area north of here or northwest of here, and she hit a cat. She thought she killed it, and they went back to check on it, and then realized that it was just unconscious. When they picked it up, it was alive, so they took it home. Well, they took it to Lakota's mom's house, and then they had to go to work, and they needed somebody to babysit the cat because they couldn't tell how badly this cat was damaged. They couldn't tell if it was bones broken. They couldn't tell, anything. I mean, it came back to it. It regained consciousness while they were out in the middle of the road with it, but it was had a concussion at minimal, and so they asked me to babysit the cat. Well, you know how teenagers are, especially when they are going to school and have a job and young. It took him several days before they could get back to me. So I ended up having a cat that I wasn't supposed to really have in the house. I didn't have permission for it. I had a little room that I could put it in. We took it out. We let it come out of the cage. We tried to get take care of it to the best we could, and it recovered pretty good. And they finally came back for it for the cat a few days later, and it took it back over to Lakota's mother's house, and it proceeded to find a hole in the wall and climb in there, and they couldn't get out for several days, but they got it out, and it ended up that they were able to let the cat go in a good place for it. It could survive. Well, they put food out and stuff for it too. But the best I can tell, the only thing is now is it has a crossed eye. So I think she did a glancing blow and gave it a concussion, and it has a crossed eye now. So I don't know, but I tried to make friends with it, and it just hissed at me, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to leave it alone. I don't have any reason to do anything with a cat like that. So, but I think the cat is happy now and basically recovered, except for a crossed eye. I'm laughing. My housemate, we're getting older. So instead of typing into your phone, because none of my friends, very few of my friends have computers. And so they get on their phone, they'll say, Google, how do you do this? Siri, how do you do that? What's going on with that? And Terry got into a long drawn out argument with Google. And I'm laughing and laughing and laughing. And I was laughing so hard. She just looked at me and she grinned. I didn't know what was going on with her, but I had to leave the room because my ribs were starting to hurt. I was laughing so hard. And and then a couple hours later, she was talking to Google again, trying to get a recipe for muffins. And it's too long a story to go into detail, but she's arguing with Google. And at one point, she says, Google, you're starting to sound like me. Where are you from? And Google says, it's from the cloud. And I go running into the room where she was. I said, Terry, you're talking to a computer. She had no idea she was talking to a computer, and she was arguing with this computer. And then even that night, she was going, good night, I'm going to go to bed and argue with Google. And she sure did. I could hear in the next room, do you know Jesus? It was just too funny. But now she knows she's at least talking to a computer. And it was an interesting thing. Well, another big change has happened. And I had mixed emotions about this. It was bad enough when last year Kinsey moved to Coffeyville to go to college, but she was only an hour away. So that was cool. There was no problem with that. And I didn't get to see her as much as I wanted to, but golly, she's 19 now. She's grown. She has a life and everything, but she did come through and visit every once in a while, and that was pretty good. Well, both she and Lakota became real dissatisfied with their education that they were getting up in Coffeyville and the situation that they were in, and they are ready to make money. They're ready to be together, ready to do things. And they both had a job at an Italian restaurant up there, and was even having some frustration with that. But the owner called them. I don't know the whole story on it, but was asking if they wanted to do like travel work. And they said, sure, we'll do that. So they put their notice in at the restaurant they were in. And at first they were supposed to go to North Dakota. They were going to leave like a week later and literally move to North Dakota for a month. And then they didn't know where they were going to go after that. Well, the day before they were supposed to go to North Dakota, the owner said, wait, I got plenty of people in North Dakota. We need you to go to New Mexico. So now my kids have moved to, I call them my kids, my granddaughter and her fiance. They've actually moved to New Mexico. They're so happy. They're really ready to start a life together. They're ready. They're really ready to get out in the world, and they're good at earning money and taking care of things, and they're happy. And I'm happy for them, but oh my gosh, my girl is 9 hours away now, and that's hard. But all I can have to keep thinking myself is she's happy, so that's all that counts. So, and she's called me 2 or 3 times, which is kind of interesting too. I get the feeling that as much as she wanted to be out in the world and do stuff, she kind of still needs a little bit of support and knowing that it really is okay for her to be there. And if anything happens, she can come back to me, and I'm happy to provide that for whatever she needs to do. So that's one thing that's going on with her. We've had some crazy weather. We actually did have a tornado warning here last Friday night. And I laugh because I'm not scared of tornadoes. I mean, I respect them. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not one of those that freaks out about weather and stuff. And neither is my housemate. And so we do pretty good. But we were watching the monitor. Neither one of us have a computer either. So we watch our, I mean, we neither one of us have a television. I have a computer, but of course I had to unplug it because we had a lot of lightning and stuff. And so on our phones, we were getting notices that we were in a tornado warning. So we started, this is a pretty decent house for it. There's a big old long hallway that's pretty narrow and no windows except on the far end, and it's not even near anywhere. So I think for a tornado, that's a pretty good thing. So we're throwing blankets and stuff in there, sitting in there. But all of a sudden, the siren for here in town goes off. Now you got to know, I work for the town of Foyle now. On Wednesday at noon, every Wednesday, I'm the one that tests the siren. I have to turn on, and I tell you, I won't lie, I was really bad at it at first. I would panic and start pushing all the buttons, and it's supposed to turn off. You're supposed to turn it off after just a couple of seconds, but it's very delayed, and so I'm panicking, and it got to where I was staying on for the full 3 minutes. So when the siren went off, it's manual. Somebody had to do it, which means the mayor did it, and I thought, crap, it's a good thing that I'm not responsible for that, because I didn't even think about taking the siren. It looks like a walkie-talkie. I didn't even think about it to do it, and so I'm glad the mayor did it, because if it had been left up to me, we might have been in trouble. So yeah. But speaking of the mayor, I guess that he's decided just recently to move to Arizona, and I have no idea what that's going to entail for me. I mean, honestly, he did a lot. He's done a lot in this town, and he's kind of one of those hands-on things, and even almost a micromanager, and I have no problem with that, especially since I didn't know what I was doing. I needed him to be on top of me for quite a while, because there's a lot to learn in the particular job I'm doing. So I was pretty happy with him doing that, but now all of a sudden he's going away, and I'm thinking, oh crap, now how much am I going to do? How much more do I have to do? But then also the thought occurred to me last night that whoever the new mayor is might not like me and might fire me. So I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll just have to keep things in mind. All right. What I'm listening to on Audible is I'm listening to Inner Excellence by Jim Murphy. I'm doing my second listening to that. That's been a pretty decent book. I've learned a lot from it. And I have to admit, on the nonfiction books, I wish frequently that I have the hardcover copy of it so that I can highlight it and stuff and remember things better. But I just listened to them twice so that maybe I can catch something the second time that I missed the first time. And I'm also listening to Odd Apocalypse by Dean Koontz. The Jim Murphy book was written in 2025, and Odd Apocalypse was written in 2012. So those were ones I'm listening to. One day I listen to fiction, and the next day I listen to nonfiction when I'm getting ready for work. Okay, what I'm reading is my nonfiction book is Keto After 50 by James Wilson. It doesn't even have a copyright date on it. It just says it's copyrighted. I'm going, okay. I've just kind of gotten started in it. It's not a really big, thick book, but it's talking about diet or after 50. So that's been kind of an interesting one. And I'm also reading my novel that I love to read at the end of every night just before I go to bed is The House at the End of the World by Dean Koontz. And it was written in 2023. And as you know, I love Dean Koontz books. And so I'm doing that one. All right. My quote of the week is, don't fight the forces, use them. And it's really cool as I read to you about him. I like to research about the people that I'm talking, that I quote from. This is by R. Buckminster Fuller. And he was born July 12, 1895 in Milton, Massachusetts. And it's cool because the quote is, don't fight the forces, use them. And his life is actually is going to, and I didn't know this until I was researching him, it's going to actually mirror a lot of what I'm going to talk about for my main subject too. So it's kind of cool how it all worked out. But he was an American architect, systems theorist, a writer, a designer, an inventor, philosopher, and futurist. He popularized the geodesic dome and served in the Navy during World War I. Later on in his life, or after at one point in his life, he was depressed because he had a daughter that died just before her 4th birthday. And there was a birth of another daughter after losing his job as a president of the company called Stockade. So because money was tight, he was depressed about the death, and because the money was tight, he was actually considering suicide to provide life insurance money for his family. But then, and this is a direct quote for the next two paragraphs. This is: Fuller said that he had experienced a profound incident which would provide direction and purpose for his life. He felt as though he was suspended several feet above the ground and enclosed in a white sphere of light. A voice spoke directly to Fuller and declared, "From now on, you will need never await temporal attestation to your thought. You think the truth? You do not have the right to eliminate yourself. You do not belong to you. You belong to the universe. Your significance will remain forever obscure to you, but you may assume that you are fulfilling your role if you apply yourself to converting your experiences to the highest advantage of others." So basically, he was saying that you're going to change a lot of lives and you may not even know how. And then back to the quote. This is when he decided to see what one person, well, it's not a quote. This is when he decided to see what one person can do to change the world and benefit humanity. And he went on to accomplish many things. And even though this is not a direct correlation, we're not going to be talking about today, but it is still, it applies. Okay. So now, but 11 days before he turned 88, he visited his wife in the hospital, who was lying in a coma, dying of cancer. He jumped up, exclaiming that she had squeezed his hands, and then he died of a heart attack. And his wife died 36 hours later, and they are buried in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Isn't that amazing? But I don't know. I didn't know. So many times, I've always heard about Mr. Fuller, but until you start looking up and learning stuff about him, you go, wow, that's very interesting. Okay. My main subject, the circle of concern. Okay. When I chose that quote, I did not know about Fuller's desire to change the world for good. So it fits today, just like I was saying earlier. But if you think about it, so many of us are in social media, and social media is basically what you choose to do with it. They're always going to put out what you want to do, and they're probably going to they're going to push their own agenda. Each platform is too. But whenever you watch things that upset you, with politicians, the state of the world, the state of everything that's going on. When you watch that, you're setting your algorithm for that. Okay. So basically, there's so much anger and lies and division that is being fomented in all of the social media. Now I've seen a lot of people who will quit doing social media for what they call on social media fast and stuff, and don't go in it for any length of time. They set a date and they won't go back to it. There are certain platforms that people won't deal with either. So I don't know. It's that's up to each individual person. But part of it is because of the algorithm they had set in those platforms that they did for themselves. If they watch a certain thing, the algorithm is going to send them more of that. And if what you're watching is making you angry, you're going to get more stuff that makes you angry. And then Stephen Covey, and I'm sure you've always heard of this, is the circle of control, the circle of influence, and the circle of control of concern. Okay, so the circle of concern, that is everything that you're worried about, what you're thinking about, everything that's in your universe, and what you think about and how you want to deal with it. Okay. The circle of influence is completely different. That is, can you influence whatever it is that you're worried about at the time? Can you do anything to influence it in any way, shape, or form? And then the circle of control is, what within that influence can you actually control? And what is the that you can control, that that you can actually do something about? Okay. And a lot of times we are in a world where we are in a circle of concern. We're concerned about the price of fuel. We're concerned about war. We're concerned about the president. We're concerned about the previous president. We're concerned about Israel. We're concerned about Iran. We're concerned about China. We're concerned about it, but how much of it can we actually even influence, let alone control? It's okay. And then you can go, yeah, but I feel strongly about these issues. Okay, feel strongly about them, but don't torture yourself with them, and sit down and write these issues that you are concerned about and assess what you actually can do about what you feel so strongly about. And this kind of goes back to Buckminster Fuller. He decided to do his best to make the world better and to do what he could to make it better. So what can you do to make the world better? What can you do to make things where you can be more comfortable in what's happening in your world? If there's nothing you can do about it, turn it over to God. You can't do anything about it anyway. If there's something you can do about it, quit griping and get off your butt and do something about it. Okay. So that's basically what it boils down to. Okay. So reading about, okay, so like adding to the vitriol on social media, it only increases your anger and angst. Okay. If you're reading about it, if you're talking about it, if you're posting, if you're what they call the keyboard warrior or something, I don't know. But if you're reading about other people's angry posts, it doesn't do any good either. Okay. You can trust that God has everything under control. We just got to trust him. Okay. If you can't do anything about it, you need to understand that God is what's behind this. There's a reason he's doing it. Even if we don't like it right now, a lot of times, if you look back on all the things you didn't like that you were railing to God about in whatever's happening to you right now, or your past or anything like that, if you actually look back when it's over, you go, oh, okay. It turned out okay. No matter how bad it was, something good has come from it. There was a reason for it. There's always something, even if we don't understand it. And maybe even if we don't understand it in our lifetime, God has still got it. And all the railing and going on and on and on about everything in the world, it's just making you upset. And unless you can do something about it, move on, trust it to God. It doesn't mean that you have to put your head in the sand and not know what's going on in the world. You can stay on top of things. You can listen to things objectively as much as possible. Search for what is the actual truth, not the truth that you feel like you want to hear, not the truth that, because there are two different sides to the media, and it's got us completely at each other's throats. You're either one side or the other or whatever, and that you can step back or do your best to step back and determine what is actually the truth, not the truth that you want, not your truth, but what is the truth. We also need to remember a lot of things that are happening in the world. We don't know the whole story. We don't know that anything that is classified information. We don't know what happened behind the scenes. We don't know what's being said. We only know what's being told to us basically by the media, who has their own agenda too. And so, you just have to do the very best you can just to filter it and sort it through and do what you can with it. One of the things that I've had to learn years ago, and of course, everything I'm telling you, I'm still learning all the time too, but I used to have a little tapestry that I had cross-stitched years ago that said, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And there's a lot to that phrase, and you need to dwell on that too. Okay. So if you're scrolling, start working on your algorithm. Do something that you enjoy. Focus on the things that you enjoy, things that bring you happiness. Like mine is full of clean comics, funny dogs, cute babies, and yes, even the ever-present few cat videos. Okay. But I still know what's going on in the world because I listen to podcasts and stuff. But when I'm going to sit down and scroll through something, my algorithm shows me things that bring me joy, not that bring me anger. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. Now, if there's something you can do, if you really feel strongly that there's something you can do it to the best of your ability. If you think that it's going to actually make the world a better place, as long as it's legal and ethical and everything. But if you can't do anything, don't. Trust it to God. if there's something that you feel strongly that you want God to do your best for him and get it done. Otherwise, live your life, enjoy your life, set your algorithms to what makes you happy. Okay. My question of the day is, what can you do to make your world a better place that is in your circle of control, the smallest circle? Okay. You can email me at theciaellis@gmail.com. Okay. All right. Now, I do have an affiliate link to the Self-Reliance Festival. This is going to be October 3rd and 4th in near Camden, Tennessee. Now, it's already filled up for the year, but you can get yourself put onto a waiting list. If somebody drops out, you can be put onto it. But go to the link below and click on that and sign up for it. That is an amazing. Okay, if that tells you anything, it's been sold out for a few weeks, and that's because it is an amazing thing that you can go and attend. There's all kinds of personalities there. There are all kinds of people there, but they all are there to learn how to encourage each other to take care of themselves and help others take care of themselves. I don't know. There is a vibe there that's really refreshing and nice. I mean, it really is. These people really, they have new speakers every year, every time that are, and it's just really empowering and it's really cool. So I would encourage you to go to the link below and see if you can get signed up for the list and get on it. Okay. I would appreciate if you tell other people about this podcast and also give me a 5-star review. And last of all, I can be found on Facebook as Thecia V. Dayhoff Ellis. I know that's a mess, but you can look me up and you can see what's going on in my life. And then that's all I got for you guys. God bless. Wait, live until you die. Live. This is all we got, guys. Get out there and live a good life for God. God bless. I'll see you next time.